So this pandemic, and as Shailesh was rightly saying, it has been a new learning for probably all of us in the globe, and at the same time, giving each area of each country in the globe a different perspective of learning. So as we kind of, got hit by this uh, pandemic across, the three focuses that we kind of tried to bring across and imbibe across the organization at all levels of the organization, starting from the leadership to all the way up to the shop floor, was patience, prioritization, and planning, right? With these three elements across, all the subsequent actions that we initiated or are in the process of initiating have been kind of brought across, right? Because every day is a new situation, a new dynamic context to deal with. It's patience that is kind of predominant there. Now, with the resources and the limited context of what you are available, both in terms of capital, in terms of manpower, and the other resources, which is mainly, of course, customer orders are also limited. So prioritization to ensure you kind of meet both goals for the customer and for the organization is important. Third is because you have to drive those priorities, you have to be so super efficient in planning that you know where to distribute your resources and how do we do. So I think these were the three main cornerstones that we kind of do. The biggest learning that I've had from being a part of this VLSM community was to every time look at the dimensions with these three angles, any situations or any kind of this thing. So that's where I have learned. Now, because of these three focuses, how did we kind of move across? Shailesh, sorry, someone's asking me for control. So should I give them? One, Mr. Sunil Shah is asking me. So I don't know. It's popping up on my screen. Shailesh, sorry for that interruption.
So it
No,
should
sorry, madam. By mistake, it has
Yeah.
happened, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
You can continue, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. The first focus, of course, was the safety of our workforce. Why I'm saying safety of our workforce is, as Cummins is an organization, though we are spread across India, the biggest and the largest presence of our manufacturing setups are based out of Maharashtra, which is one of the worst affected states in this pandemic situation which has hit us. And not only from that perspective that we had to ensure that we first protect all our people. We have 15,000 plus employees whom we have to protect. Employees, when I'm talking about, I look at both direct and indirectly engaged with us. So that's the first thing. Secondly, meeting the already committed requirements of customers, right? That also came as a big challenge, because when it came to a standstill, how do we do that? Understand from a Cummins perspective, since our principal employers are back in America, there have been different way at which the American organization is already been, America as a country is dealing with it, but the industry was affected, but not in a bigger way, the way it was put across as a standstill situation here. So whether it was global customers or local customers, meeting the committed customer requirements to ensure their commitments are met was the second focus that we brought across. Across the organization, an alignment happened to improve EBIT with the constrained top line. We knew that our top line is not going to meet. It's not going to meet the AOP because there is a ripple effect with the pandemic, with the slowdown and everything happening. And for those of us who are engaged with the automotive sector also know that this was a year of a big product change and an emission change. So where you knew that there is going to be a problem from the top line. So we all focused on how do we move and improve our EBIT. Connecting to that is EBIT is going to be focused on. So you knew that the top line is not increasing. How are you going to retain employee morale, which was such a big, important initiative, the multiple communications, the multiple content, and communication in a different style, because we all had to use our technologies, telephones, WhatsApp, personal calls, etc., to ensure that we continue. And we still continue to do that. The next trade-off was, what do we do? Retaining workforce, reducing expenses. We chose to balance and say, how do we retain employees? So all of us took salary cuts. All of us, when I say us as managerial, including some of our shop floor staff, we are extended conversations to say how can they partner and help us and support us there. So that's the kind of, one single common thread that ran across the organization. Now, all of us, and I'm sure many of us are exposed to manufacturing setups. So we are all manufacturing organizations. So where people-dependent operations are extensively followed. So you had to do a lot of layout changes for social distancing, work rotation instead of work reduction. For example, we said, okay, can I go ahead and kind of lean my complete context and say, okay, I will run the organization in some particular shift, so I wouldn't need that extra manforce or extra manpower kind of thing. So can we kind of do temporary layoff or temporary close down, shutdown period? The answer was we would do more of rotation because we would need social distancing. So we would do rotation rather than looking at reduction. So it was a tough call, but we thought it would good to take it and kind of move on. So and in a while ago, a few months, a few years ago, Cummins did take a cut on that, but we said as we continue to do it, we're doing a big damage to our own internal talent pool, as well as we are kind of not contributing to the society, which is one of the biggest significant learning that we all take back from leaders when we go back to say, hey, how does your work impact the context of society? So while we do introductions of automation, etc., right, to speed up, we speeded up a lot of it. And for one of our plants, which is into the emission system, we engaged the extra, utilization of cobots, etc. But we did not reduce the workforce because we put in cobots to do a lot of other things. What we did was engage those people into warehouse and other operations and limited the people on the shop floor by the quality team, etc., working from the back end to support with respect to the inputs that are coming through the Industry 4 or the other data points that were there, rather than calling all of them on the shop floor and do it. So we kind of rotated and sorry. So what we have done in this pandemic situation is, of course, focus on improving the EBIT, focus on prioritizing the areas of manufacturing where customer needs are there. And we have to kind of draw a very, very significant balance between automation, profitability, and job employment, because it's very, very easy to kind of temporarily shut, stop, and stop the kind of context of what we do with our temporary or contractual workforce engagement. But we need to constantly think of how are we going to enable it. And I think that is the context that we understood, and we are trying to bring those things back so that we don't detrimentally affect any of those parameters in the society, but kind of cohesively try to build on that and move as an employment agency in the manufacturing setup to kind of continue and move on. So keeping our people safe, and for that we've also got our own mask making manufacturing machines, which kind of help us to sustain internally and also provide it to our extended family and other work people engaged with us as stakeholders as to how can we keep them more safe with all the basic safety precautions, which is providing the mask. So we've got our own mask making machines as well. So this is briefly how we've dealt with us. And honestly, I'm truly, as I sit here, I reflect back on my contacts that I've had through the VLFM journey to kind of go back and say, what did I learn there? How did we get? And I still remember how that flow diagram would say, who's the customer? That was the first question. And we would put, whether it was the OEM or this thing, but then we were told that it's the driver who drives that vehicle is our customer. So I kind of relate each of my actions back to what was my VLFM learning to put that back. And so I think those laid some foundation to bring this cultural change in the organization as we focus on EBIT, but we need to focus on how do we also retain employee morale and retain people's employment while we focus more on getting automation and being prudent from cost. Those that's something that I would leave us with, and with that, I just had a picture of what is our mask making machine to be kind of this thing. So that's what we are targeting, so that we are self-sufficient with our own internal equipments to provide our employees and also their families with these systems. So with that, I'll kind of pause and there. Shailesh, I think I was well within my time. Let me know if.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. You are not just within time, but also on the spot, directly hitting the nail and giving us such a great perspective of how things are going about, especially for a very, very large and multinational organization, and how you are driving things over there. It's 12:20, I think, so that let's not take any questions at this time. And we are also blessed to have Mr. Kiran Deshmukh with us. So probably, sir, if we can continue with all the presentations and all the guidance, and then at the last we will call upon Mr. Deshmukh to have some great perspective on how on what he sees out of this and the new situation. So I'll now request Mr. Dinesh Kumar Sharma to just kindly brief us, brief all the members. So I'll just give a very short introduction of Mr. Sharma. Mr. D.K. Sharma is from Godrej and Boys, ex-president, Godrej and Boys Manufacturing Company Limited, and he has been a very ardent supporter of the VLFM all through its journey of VLFM in the past so many years. So right now you can see see one of the photographs that was during one of the plant visits, and he has kindly agreed to open his doors for the in fact another program of the VLFM. So we have had a great learning during these times. So thank you, sir. Let me just thank on behalf of the entire VLFM community that you have taken out some of your time from your very, very busy schedule. So sir, over to you, and we are very, very eager to hear you out, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good morning to you all. Thank you, Shailesh, for the introduction, and thank you, Soumya, for a very nice presentation. I don't have any slides here, but I'm very happy to be here amongst you, because I always love to interact with you, and our guru is the same. So I would like to start here with a small story that during 2008 and thereafter, obviously we were all in trouble and the businesses were not doing well. So I get a call that Professor Shiba is walking into my cabin, and he would like to have a chat and a feedback on the VLFM graduates we had sponsored for one of the programs. So he just walked in, and only him and me, and he started asking questions. How's business? I was obviously not upbeat about the business, so I thought I will seek his guidance. So I asked him, Professor, I'm toying with an idea to diversify. I don't know. I just mentioned diversify, and he just kept quiet. And you know, when he becomes angry, you know, those type of expressions he gave me. So when I said, did I say anything wrong? So he says, yes, Mr. Sharma. You should, this is your core business. Tooling is your core business, which you have really toiled hard to bring up to this level as a leader in the country. So why do you want to abandon that? And that's something which I ingrained in myself, and then we bounced back. And I'm happy to say that I am blessed with a team, as Soumya mentioned, that the VLFM learnings are ingrained in the team, and we tend to think all alike, and the methodology adopted by various managers and departments of mine are of great help. So coming of pandemic, we are also a large organization, and we also come from Mumbai. Everybody knows what Mumbai is going through, and we are not an exception. But I think if we go back into March, when we had to close our operations abruptly, I think there was obviously a lot of uncertainty involved, right from top to bottom. All of us in the General Managing Committee down the line. Mumbai is big, operators. We are blessed to have our own colonies here. So many, I think 40% of the people stay here, but rest of the people come from faraway places. Since it was an abrupt closure, all the managers in all the plants very methodically put the shutdown in place. We made an SOP to close the plant, and due care was taken because there was a turmoil, whether to venture outside or not. But then I think it went off very, very well. The credit goes to the written down SOPs were readily available with each of the manufacturing plant. There were coolants to be dealt with. There were jobs on the machine which had to be stopped abruptly. And there were programs which were running. There were, electrical backups. There were batteries in the high-end, design machines which we had to, work upon and save the data. So all this was done in a week, and by the time we realized what needs to be done, as you know, each one of us had our own opinion. While work from home is being talked about so much, as some of us felt that it's a paid holiday, so relax at home. But then the customers were also not available. They were also in the same boat, pan India. So as the time went by, and a couple of weeks down the line, or not even a couple of weeks, 10 days, we decided to move some the design pieces to our homes, because our designers stay over here in the colony, so it was possible for us. However, the security of data was a big question mark, which we have our IT arm which took care of it. And then people came to terms with starting to work, realizing that when we open, which was quite uncertain, it has been nearly 5 months and it was quite uncertain, but we started gradually working. And then 2 weeks further down, we started realizing that is it more productive to work from home, or is it just a deterrent? So we conducted various surveys. Those who were working from home, we organized laptops for those who could have worked from home, but operators and the shop staff obviously was a big concern that after a little while what to do. But then we fortunately were called by the government for help. DRDO called us, one of our divisions, that we would like to make ventilators in a big way. So we had to open our shop. We had to do a lot of R&D, and simultaneously this was being developed. So a lot of iterative journey was there but there was a deadline, because the requirement of ventilator was huge to be put in place pan India. So we were given an order for 5,000 ventilator valves to be made. The raw material was not available. The people were not available. But somehow I think a lot of coordination was done. We had to take special permissions while Government of India wanted us to start our operations. The local BMC said, no, we will not grant you the permission. So there were a lot of struggles, but finally, we mobilized resources and we made that happen. The other thing is Godrej also has an arm called Interio. You may be familiar with. Some of you are from that division. We are from graduates. We make also hospital beds. So tremendous requirement of hospital beds came from all over the country. So once again, we had to literally, get everything in order. With a lot of struggle, we got the raw material, we mobilized people, we started machines, and we started manufacturing. and till today we have not stopped. The third was tooling division, which also supported in making ventilator valves. We work for railways in a big way. So the coach requirement is there for repairs as well as the new coaches as metro lines expand in the country. So one of our lines of businesses had tremendous pressure to supply the jigs and fixtures, which was a pending order. As Soumya mentioned, that there was a WIP. So that was the third opportunity which we got to mobilize our resources, and we started manufacturing those jigs and fixtures to clear the backlog. As the things eased, I think today I can say that we have about 80% attendance in Vikhroli. We have mobilized, transport for them, for those who come from far-flung areas, and we are near to normal. While we continue to see the statistics on the TV as to growing, but at the same time, the recoveries are also faster. Like Mr. Ramesh's news, fortunately there have been not much, calamities here, and in terms of fatalities, we are fortunate that we took care. So the safety, which Soumya also talked about, was on top of the agenda, and I'm happy to say that the level of awareness amongst the employees is extremely high. When we talk of skilled businesses like us, manufacturing, fortunately, the awareness level is very, very high. And not only in terms of, taking care of self, but I think families and extended families also was on top of the agenda. I'm not going to say the hordes of measures what we took and we continue to take as far as safety is concerned. Social distancing, relayouting, which Soumya talked about, all that was done, and we are now working in 3 shifts with gaps in between. And so I would also like to touch upon that when the pandemic started and we closed down our operations, I think 10 days down the line, we all started planning about the future. Planning was important, and we did the scenario plannings, since there was so much of uncertainty involved. But I'm happy to say that each one of the management staff got involved in this exercise, and we visualized what will happen to the supply chain, what will happen to the pending orders, what will happen to the customers, what will happen to the demand from the customers, what is going to be the future order pattern, and things like that. So much of uncertainty was involved, but having made 3 scenarios of starting up on May 1st, June 1st, and July 1st, and now we are in August, I think for all of us as manufacturing guys, I am experiencing that we should land up doing better than the scenarios what we presented to ourselves and for ourselves. There are green shoots in the economy. The monsoon is good, and I see an uptick in demand. Soumya mentioned I'm a tool maker, so most of us and most of the tool makers, the prime mover for our industry is automotive. So I think 60% of the manufacturing activity for tool makers is aligned with automotive. So while I see that future projects are not kept on hold, I have 3 lines of businesses. One is die casting, which is directly related to the number of vehicles sold. The second is stamping, which is driven by the launches of the vehicles, and the third one is the which serves railways and metros. So while I see a huge uptick in demand for the future launches for stamping tools and huge requirement in terms of projects for making coaches for metros, I see that the die casting business will also grow now, given the rural economy opening up. So this is on the market side, but when we see as to what should be the paradigm shift, I think I would like to briefly talk about two small success stories, and it is all driven by the customer. I think what is important is for we as manufacturing guys and leaders to be in touch with our customers as to what are their expectations going forward. Now, traditionally, we keep in touch. We are most of us are in B2B, but we know we make what customer wants. But I think there is this pandemic has really taught us as to how do we connect ourselves and decide our future collectively. I very strongly believe in co-creation, and in Japanese it is called monozukuri. So whatever success stories have come to the fore and which has brought good success stories, I would say, not the normal ones, which makes a paradigm shift in the business model, is something which has resulted out of this opportunity. So one is conceiving the smart dies. Now, each organization going forward will look not only for cost reduction, but also for quality improvement and less use of manpower. Now, it's a dichotomy. I'm not going into that subject. But if we interview our customers, the demand is the speed, quality, as well as low cost. So we have been working on this project to build up a smart die. So I think that has caught on. Suddenly during pandemic and after that, we see a stream of inquiries coming whereby the smart die, after you put it on the machine, the hot aluminum is put inside the die and we produce the component. It will definitely be a game changer in terms of giving predictive, not only predictive maintenance and alerts. There are some 29 parameters which you can control from remote, and it will lead to not only the saving, I mean less downtime, but also increasing the life of the tool. Now this is something very, very important for any caster or part producer. So sitting at home, or the supervisor can operate the die and sense the die with the help of sensors, see the temperature profile in the die, and we are now saddled with huge number of inquiries for the smart die. So we are trying to cope up with that, and I think the essence is co-creation. If we interviewed about 30 customers before firming up what we need to offer. So I think it has become very easy for them to adopt the solution given because it is co-created with them. The other success story is related to the line of business which I narrated for jigs and fixtures to railway coaches. Now, railway factories. I think most of you who have visited railway factories are really orthodox. There are only a couple of factories in India which are modern now. We can name it ICF in Chennai, as well as a modern coach factory in Raebareli. Now, on a phone call with the general manager of Raebareli, I was just chatting to him. So he says, Mr. Sharma, my expectations from Godrej are different and not as a fabricator and supplier of fixtures. I said, what is it that you want? He says, I want smart fixtures and IoT enabled assembly line. I said, okay, we'll take up the challenge. So we conceived that idea. We built the entire assembly line with the help of automated tools which were IoT enabled, and they used to manufacture only 2 to 3 bogies per shift. And we quickly mobilized and fabricated and imported the IoT enabled torque wrenches, and we supplied, and it was a huge success within a very, very short period of time. And so I'm delighted that, an orthodox customer, generally the image of railways is typically, they are slow, they want tender business, L1 business. I think the new generation, I saw some very, very bright managers in railways who were very forward looking, and they are upbeat about implementing IoT in their factories. The third one is dated, though we made the automation of Pinaka rockets in one of the factories in Chandrapur. And we were taken by surprise when on 11th of August, we saw in the news that Godrej and Boys made that line, and it was dedicated to the nation by none other than Raksha Mantri. So it came. We were quite delighted with this news, and I think all the VLFM graduates in my team, everybody who has been involved in this journey. I think we were talking about employee morale. I think nothing better than getting these type of acknowledgements of the co-created solutions for such large manufacturing game changer solutions. So I'm very happy that we need not be gloomy about the pandemic thing. If it is going to stay here for longer, we are back to normal. My message is, I think, take it in the stride. The first and foremost, safety should be on the top of our agenda. It should continue. It's a new norm. Life will not be the same again as it used to be past. The life should go on, but with more creativity, more innovation, and my job as a head of the unit, and I'm also wearing another hat as the president of Tool and Gauge Manufacturers Association. My message is, let us move on and seize the opportunities which is coming our way. I think it has thrown more opportunities than ever before. So I think we should all gear up our belt and only talk of creating new innovative solutions for our customers. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for inviting me, and we should remain in touch. I always am overjoyed and open to inviting VLFM graduates from Udyachal School. They walk down anytime, and we hope to see the good times once again when we meet soon. Thank you so much. That's all from my side, Shailesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for such an inspirational address. And I think so that the kind of examples that you have given are very, very real, and we probably everybody can connect to them. So without taking much of the time, I'll now like to call upon Mr. Abhange as our next speaker and a guest. And we are very fortunate to have him. Mr. Abhange is a senior director at Gabriel India Limited, and he's a very deep learner and implementer. And you say about technology, and you can really look forward to hearing from Mr. Abhange that he has a knack for technology. He knows in and out about technology, and most important thing that he knows how to use those technology to utilize it for betterment for everybody. So, sir, thank you so much, and over to you, sir.
Thank you everyone. VLFM community, I welcome you again. Saritaji, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And of course, we had two great speakers, mesmerizing speakers, Soumya and Sharmaji, both of you, wonderful. And as Soumya spoke much about how they tackled incumbents related to the pandemics and how they went about doing automation and sanitization and those kinds of things. A very creative thought. And also Mr. Sharma spoke about a lot related to innovation and monozukuri. The monozukuri word I like a lot. I learned this word 20 years back, and it has gone so much into my hard disk that that's the perfect reason why Japanese people have really progressed. So I'm going to today touch about something on the similar lines and nearly echo the same what Soumyaji and Sharmaji has spoken. So I'll just put some couple of slides on the screen. Shailesh, is something visible on the screen?
See your welcome slide. This is the first slide, I think.
Yeah, good. So you see, I deliberately did not change the first slide, which is the contents are nearly the same. This is about digital manufacturing, and I'm going to touch upon how this current situation has really pushed us into getting into the digitalization of our manufacturing, and I have been CI has been kind enough to promote this digitalization, and they have given me, you see, during this closure time, there have been so many events we have conducted online, which was otherwise impossible because you keep on traveling, you go up and down, you have to catch the flights, you get down, you stay in the hotel. Just for one event, you spend one day, or at least one day. Okay, and so many events we have carried out, and we have touched base over 5,000 people in last 2 to 3 months, thanks to the digital technology that we have used in terms of this learning sessions that I got opportunity through the platform of CII, and today we are getting one more little window to share this learnings about the digital manufacturing. So this is what I'm going to touch upon today's topic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are all living today in the age of disruption. Everything that we see today is we never imagined few weeks ago or few years ago. Even this pandemic, what all have been talking about, the most used words in the last 2 weeks has been pandemic, which probably people never even knew this word. So we are all living in the age of disruption, and I'm going to just quickly tell you that technology is the answer to every challenge that the humanity faces. Remember this one word. Every challenge the humanity has faced in the past, technology has been the solution. The solution always lied in technology. One of the big disruptors, which is a creeping disruption that is happening on this planet, is the aging population. This planet will have over 2 billion people who are senior citizens, and most of us are going to get senior by that time. And this 2 billion is a huge disruption for the planet. The world is not going to be the same the way it is going to be today. Everything is going to change by that time. The economic trends are going to change. The economic shifts are going to happen. Traditional economies are not going to be the top economies of the world, and there will be new emerging economies who are going to rule the world for the next 100 years. Advanced manufacturing and automation is going to penetrate into every field. You talk about health and wellness, environment, everything, sensors, instrumentation. Industry 4.0 is going to be the new norm. And in terms of, when you talk about automotive, I think many of you are related to automotive, and we are related to automobile field, that in automobile, in the future of automobile is everything will be connected in the automotive. The steering system is going to talk to the tires are going to talk to the lighting is going to talk to suspension is going to talk to your seating system. Everything will be interconnected. And in case you are into automotive business and your systems are not interactive, your products will be valued much less, far too less, like nuts and bolts, or eventually they may vanish. Remember this, okay? So this is what is the disruption going to happen in the automotive world. Also the modalities, the number of models are going to burst like anything. You will have enormous number of possibilities to purchase vehicles, not like past. And this tiered system is going to change. We had traditionally tier 1, tier 2 systems. We are going to have on one side the autonomous driving solutions, and the other side we are going to have the solutions related to the clean vehicle, for example, the zero emission and those kinds of things. We're already talking about electric cars, and that's going to be a new addition to the conventional tiered system. Now, why I was telling you all these things, that we have at Gabriel and Anand, we have understood that the world is not going to be linear anymore. If we have to survive, you have to tackle the business in a very different perspective. And at Gabriel, we decided to follow the 2 models. One is a Moore's model and other is a Metcalfe's model. What it talks about is that if your performance is increasing linearly, then the general tendency, the cost also has to go up. But we have decided that we'll bring down the cost of our product linearly. This is what Moore says. Moore says if you have to stay in the business, you have to follow this model. It's a non-conventional way of thinking. And on the other hand, the Metcalfe said that if it's okay to have some increase in cost, but then the value has to go exponentially high. And this is exactly our way of thinking, and we are going to use Industry 4.0 and digitalization as a vehicle to adopt this Metcalfe and Moore's model. So our journey of digitalization and automation started somewhere just before the pandemic started, somewhere in the middle of last year, and we have this vision. Our approach is to have zero loss because of accidents, because of inefficiencies, and because of poor quality. This is our objective in doing digitalization in order to enhance our profits, our process reliability, process flexibility, and sustainability. And I'm going to show some examples which you have driven in the last months and also intensively driven even during the pandemic times. So this is one picture of a robotic line. Here, previously, 12 people used to work. Today, only 2 people work. And believe me, this line was up and on and running even during the lockdown period. We were able to produce and export some of the shock absorbers from this line because you just needed hardly any people. So taking this clue that one point is that you have a payback issue and so many things in India, labor cost is still cheap and automation machine is not flying. It has been a very favorite topic of many experts. This pandemic has taught us that those topics are secondary in terms of paybacks and other things, because sustaining in the business in the long run is your primary motto of being in the business. And taking this clue from this pandemic, we have decided to invest in 150 robots within next 12 months time. 150 robots. That is one big decision that we have taken during this pandemic time. And also we have decided to go in a very aggressive manner in terms of automation. And here are the pictures, some of the equipment that we have built by ourselves during last 1 year, and they're all getting commissioned now, which is tremendously going to help us in terms of maintaining social distance, in terms of maintaining safety of the employees, and also managing our business seamlessly irrespective of pandemic or no pandemic. One of the critical topics that has always been people are talking about of the information that is generated within the organization. I tend to believe, and most of you will agree, that 90% of the information that is generated in the organization is useless. It goes into the dustbin within no point of time, but it is generated. Okay, so we thought we will tackle this point also way forward by creating a digital factory. And our progress is very much on the cards. So we are going to have some kind of factory where we are going to address a lot of topics related to information and a lot of topics related to human resource. So some of the interviews that we did with our business unit heads, plant heads, that what do they do when they come to the factory? So here are some of the answers that we got. That what do they do? They seek information like what are the line efficiencies, what are the major complaints, what is the inventory of yesterday or last week, or what is the absenteeism. You know, these are very standard information people seek. So most of the time we found that people are either seeking information or giving information, and that's what they come to the factory for. So does it really add value? According to us, it doesn't add much value. And when we put this whole information, we are all engineers, most of us are engineers. When we put it into the real data, we found that people are investing a lot of their time, whether you talk about plant head level, supply chain level, quality level, they invest a lot of their time in seeking information and giving information. And we thought that we will tackle this topic through IoT and Industry 4.0. And we have a paper model now on the ready where the 216 daily work management activities we are going to bring down to 116, which means about 100 activities we are going to knock off. Look at the activities of production head. He's routinely carrying out 21 activities. We are going to bring it down to just 6. Rest of the activities will be done by the system, by automation. So here are some of the kinds of things that we try to utilize this pandemic as an opportunity and not just stood watching it. And way forward, we think we have a great opportunity for all our businesses, whether local or export and like that. And we are completely going to be away from the China import. That is one strategic decision we have taken. And we are moving it with a lightning speed in getting it over there. No matter what happens, one of the corporate goal is that get out of China. And here are some of the pictures of those so-called work from home or work from anywhere. Why work from home? You need not be even at home. You can be on even holidays. Everything will be at your fingertips. Everything will be available and you will be as efficient as you are in the factory. So this is our future vision of getting a factory into the digital mode and taking our business to the next level and still surviving in any eventuality that we will face in the future. So we are also expanding this initiative through CII, and through CII we are going to create at least 500 companies in next 2 to 3 years time who will be Industry 4.0 compliant. Our basic framework is ready. We are going to conduct this program in 5 modules in 5 stages, and it's going to be about 8 months, 12 months program. It's first going to launch in North Hub, in the North cluster, then South cluster, and then in the West cluster. So this is going to be our way forward. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and I hope I have not exceeded my time. And thank you once again, everyone.
So thank you so much. It only leaves us to wanting more to hear from you. But I think so that for the want of time, uh, all the 3 speakers, uh, sometimes we feel that we are not doing justice to the kind of things that we are getting in from. I think so that Ms. Soumya talked about the quite 3 imperatives about manufacturing, 3 focus areas. Mr. Sharma shared about the collective wisdom, collective conscious, collective decision making that we should focus on going ahead. And you have very well pointed the role of technology and how fast in fact this technology is evolving. So thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request and call upon Mr. Kiran Deshmukh. He has been a guidance and a huge support to us for all these days. And there are many questions coming in right now, but I think so for the want of time, we should just skip those questions, and I'll be sending all these questions to the respective speakers, and we can surely direct those questions to the speakers. But I'll like I'll request Mr. Deshmukh to come in. He has heard all the 3 presentations right now and the different focus areas that each of the speaker has highlighted. But sir, how do you see the paradigm shifting? How do you see the paradigm shifting in the near and current future? What are the new things that we need to focus, particularly with respect to India, when we are now heralding into the new age of manufacturing? So, sir, what are the new paradigms that we need to focus right now?
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Shailesh, for inviting me to speak right now. I won't be long because I think we already crossed the time. Thank you very much, all the 3 speakers, Soumya Chaturvedi, Mr. Dinesh Sharma, and Mr. Rajendra Bhange, for sharing what your respective companies have been doing during this difficult time and how you have tried to convert the crisis into opportunities and benefiting your respective companies. I'm not going to repeat what has been said, but I think briefly, Ms. Soumya shared with us how in Cummins automation and was implemented without affecting people, not reducing people, continuing to giving importance to people. Also, the mask manufacturing, what they have done. Mr. Sharma shared with us the many things that Godrej has been doing, or his division has been doing. I think quite exciting was the work you've done in ventilators. Great need for the nation. I think quite interesting was the work done in smart diets. So this is an example of how this pandemic has resulted into some new opportunities, seeking new opportunities, which is going to help the company in future. Finally, Mr. Bhange also shared what is being done in Anand Group in Gabriel, how digitalization is going to be taking roots as a result of what has been seen. I think we are all seeing unimaginable proportion of changes taking place around us. Life is not going to be the same. We all know that. We all hear that from everyone. We know that global supply chain has been disrupted. We know that international trade was suspended for many months. Real is becoming virtual, and we are finding very thin line between real and virtual. But like always, every crisis brings opportunities. So I think important thing, I think in words of Professor Shiba, is we should stop looking at current crisis and use our third eye to look at the future. If we use our third eye to look at the future, while we are facing this crisis today, we will be able to find a lot of new opportunities. And if you can find these new opportunities, it will be very easy. Once you know the opportunities, I think it will be quite easy for us to tackle those opportunities and then come out with new ideas, new breakthroughs. And I think that learning that we have all got from Professor Shiba, from VLFM through this community will come handy for all of us to face this crisis and convert into opportunity. So thank you once again. And I think this Prerna Manch itself is an example of how new opportunity has been evolved in this difficult time. Avinash, Shailesh and others at CII, I really want to congratulate you for continuing to use this Munch or this platform through which a lot of information sharing, a lot of knowledge sharing is happening. And I see, I think maybe 60, 70, how many, 80 people are there today?
85 maximum.
People, I think you can see this is one opportunity. If this is a physical meeting, we could have hardly got some 20, 30 people because people have to travel, people have to spend money, etc., etc. Today, people are at their homes or in their office place and able to meet. So this kind of number is unimaginable if we were not using the technology. So like I think Mr. Bhange said, the technology is going to be the answer. It has been the answer all throughout the history of mankind, right from the revolution of agriculture. That was also technology at that time. And today, the new technologies which are coming up, which are getting accelerated day by day, which are going to help us. And we should actually harness the power of technology to help us proceed further. And for doing that, one important ingredient is customer. We should not be using technology just for the sake of using technology, but because there is a customer and there is a customer has a latent need, to meet that need, we need to use the technology. So I think whatever we have learned in the VLFM is going to come handy. And if we apply that diligently, we will all be able to face this crisis. So thank you very much once again, and over to you, Shailesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is always so inspiring to talk to you, to hear you out. And really, one thing that you said today, that real is becoming virtual and virtual is becoming real. It's so very relevant today. And thank you. We are really blessed to have you here. And I remember very vividly that sometimes back you have inspired us to think of what VLFM will be in the near future, in the near and distant future both. And that has helped us, and that has in fact inspired us to think even long after maybe 2 years or 3 years down the line how we should transform VLFM into. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your guidance, sir. And with this, I'll also like to thank all of our speakers for giving their valuable time. And it was really very nice to hear you out. Every time some different perspective comes in, three different point of views, but see everybody is giving out some message. And I think so that all the 80-85 participants, as sir also highlighted, will be learning a lot from each of your presentations, sir. Ma'am, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And with this, I'll like to formally end the meeting with a Yo1.